damage advantage for Yao Yao here could certainly be countered by Music Master. He's got about 1.5 elixir more than Yao Yao. And just to let you know, for the folks at home, we were able to announce the 2 bans from this match. Yao Yao banned the Knight, while Music Master banned Elixir Collector. That means that neither of them will be able to use those cards.
Knight is a card that I have never seen banned in Crown Championship Global Series play, yet it is consistently one of the strongest cards in the game. So I think that Yao Yao might be on that new meta by banning out the very popular 3-cost mini tank.
Very, very popular. It doesn't cost a whole lot. It does a lot for you, though.
Yes.
It takes a lot of damage, and especially against those kind of mini swarms. Like, he can deal with a Goblin Gang pretty well. He can defend against this Knight pretty well. He's not an expert at any one particular thing, but he holds off quite well. We're not going to see him in this match, though.
Most of the decks have been revealed so far. Music Master is playing the same deck he played in last game. So that last card, Mega Knight. Mega Knight, when he lands on the battlefield, huge impact on the ground, dealing tons of damage. And on counterattacks, when he sees an enemy, he's going to leap onto them, dealing even more damage. Yao Yao has brought a counter deck to this. Yao Yao, one of his 2 unrevealed cards, I'm willing to bet, is Big Mama P.E.K.K.A, a 7-cost tank with a huge amount of damage with each sword swing. P.E.K.K.A matches up very well against Mega Knight, so Music Master's got to be careful about deploying the most expensive card in his deck.
You know, Yao Yao was actually a clan leader back in Clash of Clans, so he is very familiar with the Clash universe, and he definitely knows that P.E.K.K.A well. Gonna make great use of her if he can get a connection here, but look out. Minion Horde attack up the left side, gets taken down by Poison, but not before getting a couple swings at the left side tower. Miner goes down to that Electro Wizard on back, and it's a little bit of a counterattack from Yao Yao here, but is he going to commit to it, Rummy?
Minion Horde is one of the most threatening cards in the game. I think Music Master has 2 good options there. He can either try to go Balloon or Minion Horde, because both of them have such high upsides. If they connect to the tower, tower's going down.
This Goblin Hut is a great tech choice against the Balloon, and as you noted earlier, it's a pretty decent counter as well. What we're seeing here is the Balloon going directly for the nearest building. The attacker would prefer for it to go to the tower because that gives them a lot of up in the damage race, but if it gets distracted by anything in the center, whether it's a defensive tower or a spawner like this Goblin Hut, especially if it can do anti-air damage like these Spear Goblins can, it's not going to be good for the attacker.
And here we are going into overtime with both towers still very healthy. I suspect we're going to be spending a lot of time in this game as both players are playing strong defensive decks and not giving their opponent an opening to get punished.
Not at all. Music Master's a very highly versatile deck builder. We kind of expected him to maybe play a little bit of Siege here, especially because there was no Siege card banned in this matchup. But he actually made it into the Crown Championship with a Mortar deck that he was playing during Phase 3, but this time has gone for an Aerial Assault. Minion, Horde, Bats, and Balloon can deal a tremendous amount of damage. And the kind of weakness that Yao Yao has here is the fact that his P.E.K.K.A can only target ground troops. He has to leverage these Spear Goblins. He has to leverage the Electro Wizard. Getting a ton of aerial damage is so important for him and so dangerous when the Minion Horde can dish it out so quickly.
That P.E.K.K.A's getting closer to the tower. Mega Knight comes down late, but I think it's going to take care of it and at least keep that P.E.K.K.A from connecting. You do not want her on that tower because at this point, it'll just take 2 or 3 P.E.K.K.A swings and your game is over.
Still though, Music Master relies on one big heavy hit from the Balloon and he hasn't gotten it there yet. Yao Yao on the other hand just defends, and controls the pacing of this whole matchup. He's done it very well so far, and with 2 minutes left in overtime, he's ahead in damage on both the left and the right lanes.
The longer this game goes on, I think the more it favors Yao Yao because of those Goblin Huts. If he can get out 2 or 3 Goblin Huts at a time, the buildup of Spear Goblins is going to be crazy, but great move by Music Master. He's going all in here with the P.E.K.K.A in the left lane. He goes, cool, the counter's out, I can go Mega Knight in the right, and I don't have to worry about the P.E.K.K.A, and that's the kind of push we have coming in here. He's using buildings and the Electro Wizard to pull the P.E.K.K.A towards the Mega Knight, and here comes Balloon in the right lane.
A dangerous ploy, but I think that the Mega Minion might have even shoved the Balloon over a little bit. It goes toward that Goblin Hut instead, and once again, the distraction is good. Yao Yao with a very high hit point P.E.K.K.A. In fact, she was at full hit points, even crossing the bridge there, getting taken down by the Minion Horde, but that might not be enough. It looks like Music Master's in a lot of trouble. P.E.K.K.A's about to reach the tower. Ice going to block, and the Miner supporting that defense, but not going to be able to reach the tower. Either way, though, 242 is awfully close. Yao Yao just needs one more spell cycle, and he's got this match.
A Poison does 240 damage. You would drop it down to just 2, but with Zap as well, he can finish off the game. He gets the Zap in there. Now he just needs to survive through a Poison. Looks like he's going to get to try to defend this Balloon to prevent losing, now from the Balloon, and then he can Poison at his leisure to win the game.
Oh, the Poison goes down, and as it ticks away the tower, the Princess has no recourse. Yao Yao turns it around, and this match is going to a best of 3.
I and I wouldn't have it any other way. The first match of the first round, we're going to game 3 between these two amazing players. And it's really hard. Clash with Ash and BBX8, you're right. It's really hard to say who's going to win. We've put out brackets on our personal Twitters. Clash Royale's official Twitter has released a bracket as well, and people are filling it out and putting in their predictions. And you know what? I've seen predictions for all 16 players, many of them including these two. The winner of this match could go very far in this tournament.
You know, we've had a couple of predictions as well. I was so bold as to suggest that the more expensive deck was going to be winning most of the time here. It seems like that hasn't necessarily been true, as the counterplay here has been a little bit more important than the specific cost of the deck. What were some of your predictions early on?
I definitely agree with you that, how about this? I think Elixir Collector is going to be the most banned card today, because if you don't play the Elixir, if you don't ban the Elixir Collector, it enables those very high average Elixir cost decks. And Music Master right away banned it. In North America especially, we see it banned a lot. So almost in any match with a North American player, you can probably expect Elixir Collector to be banned.
Right.
But I'd like to see at least one match where it's not banned so we can see the power of my favorite building in the game. We're going into game 3 shortly. You know what? I'm going to put you on the spot, Woody.
Okay.
Make a pick.
Make a pick. Who's going to win it?
You cast the European CCGS fall season, so you have no favoritism towards either of these players. You have not been watching them over the last several months. I can't pick because, of course, it's my region.
That's true. You know what? I guess I'm leaning a little bit toward Yao Yao. He's the player who's won most money out of any Clash Royale player. He might be, in fact, the first professional player, having won first place at the very first King's Cup over a year ago. $25,000 from that event contributes to over $45,000 that he's won from these events overall. He's a beast in Southeast Asia, has been destroying the international scene ever since then. He's so consistent and so long-term. I love Music Master. I think he's a great player. He's been around for a very long time too, but his entrance into the competitive scene has been a little bit more recent. He does have the back of Sandstorm, one of the newer teams as well, and has been working hard and practicing a ton in order to make it here. But even with that first place run in North America, I'm not quite sure yet about the consistency of the place. He got the first win in the first game here today, but the match overall goes to who can get 2 wins first. My thumb on the scale for Yaya. How about you?
Fair enough. Now, Music Master might be one of the newer players on the scene. He is one of the younger players here today, but I have not seen someone practice as much as Music Master. He's a very dedicated violin and piano player, and he says that helps him play better Clash Royale, helps him see the game as it unfolds and make predictions before his opponent plays, just like you know what's coming next in your piano. Song.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something that Yao Yao could definitely impress us with here, is if he's able to create a deck that can go the distance. We've seen a lot of standard play so far of decks that are relatively familiar. Yao Yao got that first place at King's Cup because he was able to bring a completely new deck. He basically invented the Golem Lumberjack combo, but wow, a super aggressive play here from Yao Yao, playing that Golem really early on. He's going to get punished hard as the cannon cart locks that right side tower, getting over 1,000 damage in.
Now, you might have noticed a small little spell happen on that cannon cart. Zap, the 2-cost spell, will stun the target. When a target is stunned, frozen, or even knocked back, it'll retarget on a new thing. The miner was next to it, so it turns onto the miner.
What is that flying thing over there, Rumham?
That is a flying machine, one of the newest cards added to Clash Royale. 4-cost flyer. It's got about the damage of a Dart Goblin, about the health of 2 Dart Goblins.
And it flies, so if you are able to only hit ground troops, you're out of luck. It does go down to Fireball or Poison, though, so it has a little bit of weakness in that regard, but it got great value against that Mega Minion there, and holding strong in the center. Music Master doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. He's sieging his opponent now with Fire Spirits from this Furnace and Spear Goblins from the Goblin Hut out back. Just getting reliable chip damage every once in a while, not relying on a big push the way that Yao is.
And for our veteran Clash Royale players in the audience, they might be getting excited because we were hoping that the players would bring new and interesting decks we've never seen before. If you've watched a lot of Clash Royale tournaments, you know that Music Master is playing something, well, I've never seen it before. Have you, Woody? This is a wild deck. 2 spawners. Goblin Hut creates the Spear Goblins that'll attack the tower. You mentioned the Furnace has the Fire Spirits that attack the tower. Whoa, Mega Knight going in the opposite lane, trying to punish with the flying machine behind it, picking off the Mega Minion. This might be a tower on the left side.
Splitting his attack up, a great strategy by Music Master. A bit of a gambit, though. You need to get a tower down. You don't need to get it low. But with that Mega Knight, mega damage out the left side, walk off for the flying machine means that thing goes down, and Yayao's in a lot of trouble.
This tower is gone down in 32 seconds to go with the double buildings and the cannon card. I don't know if Yao Yao's Golem deck is going to be able to get through. Music Master, he qualified for the first time in the fall season. He is so close to winning his first match in the World Finals. He just needs to hold on for another 17, 16, 15 seconds.
Got it. Yao Yao gives the thumbs up. He knows he's out. Music Master has destroyed this Golem deck, tearing it apart. An avalanche going down on the blue side as the Flying Machine pops that lock and drops it down. 2-0 victory for Music Master. 2-1 in the match overall.
And Music Master advances to the quarterfinals of the first Clash Royale World Championship. USA eliminates the representative from Taiwan.
USA, USA.
We're the English language cast. We can be kind of biased.
Just a little bit, although they may not be awake yet. They're going to watch the VOD later.
That's true.
Thanks for tuning in. I mean, we've got the first quarterfinalist decided now. Music Master from Team Sandstorm has knocked out Yao Yao, the Taiwanese player from Team Nova. Let's check a quick replay, though. This is from Game 1. It's part of the counter push that Music Master was able to put together when he got that big miner minion horde off.
Yeah, we talked about this in the first game. Now watch this. He's going to use the Mega Knight to split up the support troops behind the Golem from the Golem who's in front. Golem gets picked off, and then once the Golem is dead, the defenders turn around and finish off those now support troops without a tank in front of them. Minion horde takes it out, and look at this. Miner pops up. The minions, two minions connect on the left side. Tower goes down, and time was just out. Couldn't do it.
No way to shut that down. And check out this split push from Music Master. He sees the Golem come in the right side, and he knows it's time to strike. Left side tower is getting obliterated. Mega Knight gets locked on, and as the lock comes down, there was nothing left for Yao Yao to defend. Left side gets destroyed as Music Master holds on strong to this right lane. Cannon card got a surprising amount of value in that game. Would you agree?
An insane amount. I think that comes from scouting. Everyone knows Yao Yao is one of the best Golem players in the world, and I think Music Master came into this match going, well, if he mixes it up, there's not much I can do, but I know I'm not going to lose to Yao Yao's Golem deck. That deck he brought in Game 3, I've never seen anything like it. 2 buildings to pull the Golem towards the middle while also generating defensive troops to fight the Golem, and the cannon card, an incredibly hard defensive card to remove, is sitting there just pop-shotting away. It has a shield, so you can't even rocket it, because then it just turns into a third building that pulls the Golem away from your tower.
That is what I love most about these high-level competitions. It's not trying to just execute exactly perfectly the cards that need to be played. It's knowing what your opponent is going to bring to match and then hard countering them, bringing in a big fist in their face. Nothing that Golem deck could have done with so many distractions and so much ground-based damage. Music Master had a clean win there.
Farewell to Yao Yao. Viva la Music Master. It's time to move on.
Let's do it.
To the next match.
I'm ready.
We have South Korea's Jeltube up against Latin American favorite Adrian Piedra from Mexico. This should be a grueling dueling battle. Let's meet these players.
겔투브 27살 한국.
Okay, yeah.
I am Adrian Piedra Garcia. I'm 18 years old, and I'm from Mexico.
And they are on the podiums now, building their decks, thinking about it. You have the bands.
Right.
We've got the deck building. This is one of the most important parts of the matchup right now.
So I wonder what the ban cards are going to be this time, Rumham. We saw Elixir Collector and Knight last time. Now, we both said the Elixir Collector was very likely to be banned frequently here. The thing that is smart about that decision is that it knocks out a lot of those Golem decks. It knocks out a ton of Three Musketeer decks as well. And I think that's what really crippled Yao Yao. He's well known for being one of the heaviest players in the game, bringing those massive Golem decks, but without the juice to be able to fuel that sort of push, that's what caused those Golem decks to fall apart in the last matchup.
Yeah, the most banned card that Jeltube did in his Korean region was Graveyard. I wonder if he'll ban that here as well, or if he'll try to ban something specific to Adrian Piedra.
Now, there's two different types of bans, as the way I see it. You can have an offensive ban, where you want to support the deck that you want to bring and try to remove counters. So, for instance, if I want to play Minion Horde, I might ban arrows. So
let's go down to the arena.
Let's check out and see what they banned.
Yeah.
In match 2, Jeltube has chosen to ban Hog Rider. Adrian Piedra has chosen to ban Tornado. Duelers, prepare to battle.
Now, I think Gel2 got the better of that ban round, and here's why. If you're banning Tornado, that tells me that you like playing Miner, you like playing Hog Rider. Tornado is a one-card counter to the very popular Hog Rider. Now, he's banning Tornado to set up a Hog Rider deck, so what does Gel2 do?
That was an offensive ban, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think that the Hog Rider ban was a defensive ban. He doesn't want to have to play against Hog, and you're certainly right. The fact that there's not going to be any Hogs here means that you're not going to be able to get as much value out of the Tornado, even if you had wanted to play it.
Right. So maybe Adrian Piedra has a second or third deck that happens to be really good in a world without Tornado, but I would imagine just from what we've seen that he was aiming to play Hog Rider with that ban. So, but the good news, Tornado, very popular card used in a variety of archetypes. A lot of decks will play 3 spells, 2 that deal damage, and then a Tornado to deal with swarm troops and big pushes.
Yeah.
Perhaps he's still got something up his sleeve. You don't have to deal with, when you have Tornado banned, Executioner for the most part. Those are a bit of a, you know, two birds in the same nest.
Yeah.
Executioner and Tornado, they usually live together.
A great combination, deals a ton of damage to both ground and air units, splashes all over whatever is in sight. But something that I think that Adrian Piedra is going to have to keep in mind is that Gel2 is a master of Miner decks. The fact that Adrian has banned the Tornado now means it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to be able to actually get that Miner to you know, get off of his tower.
Sure.
One of the greatest plays against Miner is being able to pull it onto the king, get him activated early on, avoid the damage on your Princess Tower. Having that King Tower activated early is a lot more defensive firepower to knock out the small ground-based pushes.
Yeah, Gel2 plays Miner a ton, and if you are been watching the North American finals, we know that B-Rad was like one of the most famous Miner players in the world. Gel2 is going to bring a style like that against Adrian Piedra. Saw a shot of the floor there. That's right, the gameplay is being projected onto the arena floor, so the people here can live a real-life game of Clash Royale.
How exciting. I know, the arena just looks absolutely beautiful around the ham. Seeing these guys duke it out across the floor, all the little troops running across the ground is hilarious.
Adrian Piedra opens by splitting archers, 1 in each lane. Gel2 responds with Night Witch down the left side. Now, Night Witch, very powerful card, but not great all on her own. She's going to want something standing in front of her, so we'll see what Gel2 supports her with. That's a big boy!
Huge Mega Knight lands on the left side. He can get a lot of damage right when he lands off there, but it seems that this time he was just there to protect this Night Witch. A little bit fragile in the back, but she can dish out a lot of damage with her bats that she's able to spawn. She's getting awfully close to the left side tower. Can the Mega Knight get the jump? No.
Oh, but the Miner does come down to buy a little bit of time and take out an archer in the meantime. Now, if this is your first time seeing Inferno Tower, very tough building deal. A lot of health, lasts for 40 seconds in its entire lifetime. And while it starts off doing very little damage, it quickly ramps up to doing thousands of damage per second. No tank, not even a Mega Knight, can get through an Inferno Tower without some help.
The hashtag Pelon Army from Adrian Piedra holding on strong with defense. No damage whatsoever on either of his towers. He rolls a log in, and I'm willing to predict early on from him. I think that we might see an Expo coming out of it.
Fair enough, that's right. It does look like a deck that could be like that. Now, you mentioned Pelon Army. Adrian Piedra made a promise that if he wins the World Championship, he's going to shave his head and be my twin. He's going to join me in baldness. So that's, his fans have been related. Oh, we got a graveyard coming in here about Adrian Piedra, a fast cycling graveyard deck. Mega Knight lands for Gel2, trying to get in the middle of those skeletons, keeping them off the tower.
Mega Knight does splash damage to all the ground troops in the surrounding area. Kind of unfortunate for Gel2 that archer locked on. She actually got quite a bit of damage off. It's a good standard defensive setup, whatever deck you want to bring. Looks like that the fact that graveyards in this deck means that we're not going to see any Expos here, though. But with that balloon getting awfully close, nothing to knock it back. The Mega Minion is getting a lot of damage onto it, but it's about to reach. No!
An insane Ice Spirit saves his tower from a damage. I really like Gel2's move, though. He revealed the rocket on the Inferno Tower, a huge surprise that put Adrian Piedra behind. He was planning on the Inferno Tower taking out the Mega Knight, and I assume the balloon as well. But when the rocket took it out, suddenly he had to think on his feet to keep his tower healthy, and he did exactly what he needed to do.
An insane Ice Spirit, and the rest of this game is looking pretty batty too. The Night Witch out back is spawning plenty of them. Those big pushes out front, though, from Gel2, but failed to connect so far. He really needs to leverage double elixir time to turn this game around. Otherwise, Adrian Piedra is just going to be able to crush him.
I think Gel2 panicked a little bit there too. He zapped just like 2 skeletons at the very end, and that is 2 elixir that he really needed on this counterattack to get through the Inferno Tower.
Inferno Tower does pull that balloon in, but it's looking awfully dangerous as Adrian Piedra finally takes it down. suffering a little bit of damage from the miner there, but he's holding on strong. He might even be able to pull this off with just Spell Cycle. At this point, only 604 hit points left on Jeltube's tower.
He could do 3 poisons or some combination of Graveyard, Log, and poison spells as well, but the most important thing is you cannot let that balloon get onto your tower. 2 balloon drops might be enough to finish this game off for Jeltube because he's got that big old rocket to follow it up with.
Adrian has really been leaning on this Inferno Tower, and it's working to great effect for him here. He sends in the Graveyard Poison. This could be the end of the game right here on him. Skeleton Spread Spawn.
He's waving it off.
He takes it.
Adrian Piedras waves his hands left and right, stoic as ever, sticking his tongue out, taking the first battle of this match. He is normally a happy-go-lucky, a very loose player when he plays, but he has taken this tournament so seriously this week. He is here to win, and he's not going home early at all. But Jeltube has not 1, but 2 games to show that he can compete with Latin America's very best.
The Aztec Eagle was #1 in the Latin American Crown Championship regional finals. He was #2 in the spring season, so he is one of the most consistent players. He's one of the highest ranked just in terms of finishes in the spring and fall seasons. Adrian Piedras certainly gave us a masterclass on how to play defensive Graveyard Cycle that last game.
Yes, Graveyard is one of the best legendaries in the entire game. It is a spell, a 5-cost spell that you can place anywhere on the board. It's going to summon over a dozen skeletons across 9 seconds, and if you aren't quick enough, they're going to swarm your tower and drop it like that. You saw a lot of good defense there by Jeltube, but the key is that Adrian Piedras had poison. When you play a troop near your tower to defend it from the skeletons, the poison comes down, damaging the tower and the troops. Night Witch was down there to defend a lot, and she was really hurt by the poison. Her bats are getting killed by the poison right away. She almost dies to the poison. If 1 or 2 skeletons can slap her, she's gone as well. That combination, it's 9 elixir, it's certainly not cheap, but along with an Ice Spirit freezing the tower or just archers crossing the river on a counterattack, it all combines for a deadly deck, and he piloted it, I think, expertly to victory here in game #1.
Something that's super scary about that Graveyard is that you can also play it on your opponent's side of the map. There's not very many cards at all that create troops on your opponent's side. You know, you can send in the miner, you can throw a Goblin Barrel, but they're all either epic or legendary cards, and they're pretty hard to handle. You got to be very careful and only attack when you know the time is right. You saw Adrian Piedras looking very calm as he hops into the second battle of the second match up against Jeltube.
Now we'll see if they stick on the same. No, Adrian Piedras switching. Now this is a deck, very fun deck to both watch, cast, and play. It is called Spell Bait. Now here's what we're looking for. We have Goblin Barrel, we have Princess, and we have Goblin Gang. 3 cards, all 3 cost. Very vulnerable to light spells, but super powerful on their own. Adrian Piedras is going to try to bait a small spell out of his opponent's hand and then go all in with cards like Goblin Barrel, Goblin Gang, and Princess to punish on the tower. Meanwhile, Jeltube is playing, looks like a Miner Poison combo deck, although we have 3 more cards to be revealed. He's going to try to put the Miner onto the tower, and if you defend that Miner, Poison's going to come down to deal damage to the tower and your defending troops.
Very nice play there by Adrian Piedras. Got the Ice Spirit and the Log to crash onto those archers. A nice Juke Barrel out the back. Tries to catch Jeltube by surprise, but he gets an excellent Log to roll through those attacking troops. Looks like Poison Log is going to be a very good combination for Jeltube here against the Log Bait deck, but Adrian Piedras is one of the cleverest players. You're not going to catch him by surprise very often. Let's see if he can take out this Princess, though. Not looking likely.
That Princess play was incredible. Look at him. He knows he just pulled off a great play. Princess is such a vulnerable but powerful card. If you can bait out a combo like that, Knight's going to come in. Earlier it was a different troop.
Wow.
But killed all of it and forced Jeltube to go, I wasn't ready. Like, I have to go commit more to stop this Princess. And just as you finished off the last Princess, another one comes out to keep shooting. Princess is the only troop in the game, a legendary troop, that deals infinite damage. She never crosses the bridge. She's going to stand there and just shoot and shoot and shoot until you deal with her. And Adrian Piedras is playing it masterfully.
Another massive strike from Adrian out the left lane. I'd say that he's on fire, but I think it's the left side tower that is the one on fire. In fact, a huge streak from Adrian as he tears into the left lane down to 719. There's also a very good chance that he's got Rocket in this deck, a popular card for finishing off towers that deals 493 damage. So Adrian Piedras is almost within striking range already.
Yeah, he's just going to have to use, I think, 2 logs. It's actually a little more than 2 logs to get into rocket range, but 2 rockets will definitely do it. As we get into double, we're in double extra time now, but as we get closer into overtime, you might see him just start going with rockets on the tower, but he'd prefer the cheaper Goblin Barrel to get the job done.
Princess gets a little bit distracted here. She goes into the Miner instead. It's going to be a nice hit in from Jeltube.
The tower!
down to 1179, but he had no defense whatsoever against that last barrel. Adrian Piedra up 1-0 now, can just defend hard for 20 seconds. Jeltube switches to the rocket. He gets reliable damage, but it's not enough.
Yeah, he'd have to log twice and then rocket again in order to take this out. I don't think he's got it in him. Only 10 seconds left. Adrian Piedra is going to complete a 2-0 sweep, eliminating Jeltube from the Republic of Korea and moving on to the quarterfinal round.
The Pelon Army, Mexican player Adrian Piedra on Team Queso, winner of the Latin American Crown Championship Regional Fall Finals, is your quarterfinalist in the World Finals.
Woo! And he has a lot of fans here today. Players from across the world have joined this Pelon Army movement. They want to see him shave his head, but it's so hard to not love Adrian Piedra. He's so happy-go-lucky, such a fun player, both on and off stage to root for, that a lot of people had picked him to win. Also, he was considered the favorite for the Spring Championship. Didn't quite do it, managed to take the Fall Championship, and that's what brought him here today. So let's take a look at a replay that brought him into the quarterfinals of Worlds.
Looks like we've got an attack out the left side from Adrian Piedra. A nice little bit of elixir pooled up here. Left side, Mega Knight right on the bridge leaves Jeltube defenseless, though. That backside Night Witch having a lot of trouble. Her bats are going down to that poison spell. And in this first battle of the match, Adrian Piedra pulled far ahead early game and followed on strong.
Now, I love me some princess play. Now, keep a look at that long-range princess there. She's going to shoot and then walk towards the bridge. And Adrian Piedra is going to predict that Jeltube is coming for and defend that princess, keep her shooting. Watch this right here at the bridge.
He knows that Jeltube doesn't have the log in hand, so what can he counter with, Remy?
Yeah, Knight comes out first to block, and then the Spear Goblins throw it around. Miner pops up and gets only one swing on a Goblin before an Ice Spirit gets in the way. Princess then takes out the archers after, and look at the Elixir Collector, the Elixir difference right now. He's up in Elixir, and he has a Princess on the board. That was the critical moment in that second game that put him so far ahead in damage and Elixir, he just had to ride it to victory from there on out.
Not since the early days of Super Mario has a intrepid young man saved a princess that well, Remy.
Your crown is in another arena. Psych, it's in the arena today. You don't have to keep looking for another castle. You just got to grab it from the center stage in a little bit.
But he still has a lot of players that are going to be stacked up against him. We've got many more matches as we continue the round of 16, or the octafinals, as I like to call it. I'm just about ready for match 3, Remy. What about you?
I am so ready. This next match is between Colton W83 from the United States up against China's top-seeded dueler, Wins, one of the most experienced competitors here. Now, this is interesting because these are two players that are very similar to each other. When I talked to the Chinese players here, they said that these players are very, very similar in their experience and their styles.
Well, so let's learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, let's get to know them a little better.
Send it away.
Colton W83, 20, Texas, USA.
My name Wins. I'm 24 years old. I'm from China.
In match 3, Colton W83 has chosen to ban Elixir Collector. Wins has chosen to ban Poison. Duelers, prepare to battle.
So both of these players here today are some of the older players in our competition. I don't mean that in a bad way. Who am I to tell someone that they're old? But both of them have a laundry list of tournament accomplishments. We have, of course, our stats and our research, and both of these players are 2 pages to cover all of their winnings and earnings. Colton has traveled all across the world. His big debut was 2nd place at King's Cup 1, losing to Yao Yao, who we saw eliminated earlier today. I was somewhat hoping for a Yao Yao Colton rematch in the semifinals, but that dream is dead. Colton, though, still alive. His biggest win, his first major tournament win, though, was Gamer G Masters here in Spain. He told me this is his 3rd time in Europe for a major tournament, and he feels comfortable, he feels confident, he loves the live arena, and he's feeling really good.
2nd place in King's Cup, and 1st, yes, in the Gamer G Masters. Cole Town is a YouTuber and streamer in his own right, creates content, and when ran so far in the Invitational. That's how he got his seat here today. First place among 16 of the best in the world, including Surgical Goblin, one of the players from Europe who has won so many tournaments. He also beat Soaking, Action, and Oxalate up in the finals. He has a great pedigree and a lot of matches behind his back. But Wins, on the other hand, from China, the #1 player being sent here is the 3rd seed in the Chinese tournament. He loves Poison, so
he banned it.
I think it's kind of interesting that he chose to ban it.
Yeah, but I think the reason why is that Colton is known as a very big beatdown player. He likes, you know, giants and golems and all the stuff behind it. I think that Wins' scouting said, if I don't get rid of Poison, I'm going to really suffer against these big beatdown decks. However, Wins, a pharmacist, over in China, and he's here to give Colton his medicine. But we'll see. We're going to get to that match in just a second. Until then, let's go to a brown bag in the Players' Lounge.
Adrian, congratulations on that match. How are you feeling right now?
Thank you, Rio. Well, I feel amazing. I think the first match is always important, and I think I played focused, like how I should play, and I mean, it was fine. Now it's a really tough opponent like the Music Master, so let's think about it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. In fact, we noticed that you're like normally very animated, and you were super serious on stage, and you're talking to yourself, you're saying things on stage. Why don't, for the people at home that want to know, like, your thought process and you're thinking, like, what are you saying to yourself? Like, what are you doing?
Well, first, like, I just need to stay really calm, very focused to play well. So I just, like, breath, like, a lot, like, I learned that from Achin. Like, in the spring season, he always do that, and he was, like, so chill, so relaxed playing. So I learned that. Then I practiced, like, my matchups and all of that. So then I know less what to do in all of the situations. So I think that will help you.
Yeah, honestly, I think it really paid off for you. You did really well in those matches.
Thank you.
I also, so you have a chair, right? So it's a little bit different from some of the other people. And I heard, like, you told us that you actually have a pretty serious injury on your back, and that's kind of one of the reasons you started playing Clash.
That's why I started playing the game.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Because I injured my back. I was playing like basketball, and then someone like tackled me, and I fell down. And then I had a lot of time because I can't go to school and all of that. So I started like playing Clash Royale a lot. And well, now I'm here, so.
So it paid off.
Yeah, it paid off. And yeah, I need a chair because sometimes when I'm like stay for a long while, it usually hurts a lot. So I don't want to hurt one of the most important days of my life. So.
No, of course, it makes sense. And on that topic, on how you started playing Clash, you're obviously a pro player at the best of the best, right? And a lot of players at home, they're going to see this, and they're going to want to be a part of this. Like, how do they get in this? How did you become a pro player?
Well, to be honest, at the beginning, I wasn't that good. I mean, but then I started like playing a lot. I think constancy is key, and then you really need to enjoy the game, because if then you lose like 2 or 3 matches and you are like, oh, I don't want to play this game, maybe this game is not for you. Me, after I lost like 4 or 5 battles, I can, in a train, I can just say, okay, well, let's do it. I can do it. I love this game, so why not?
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, you were already talking about you've got a tough opponent coming up, right? And you know it's coming up. So what do you do? Like, how are you already? You're already like, you're thinking about that match. You're already preparing right now.
Well, I'm gonna prepare right now. Also, I'm here with my brother, Surgical Goblin. He's here, so shout out to him because he always me and my team Queso, and all my friends, people, and all watching, like in all the social media. So yeah, I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna be playing my comfort decks and just made round of it. Yes.
Yeah, of course, and Team Queso represent, obviously, right? That's got to be super exciting. You get to represent your crew out on the big stage.
And Mexico, and Latin America, and Hispanic people.
Entire country.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome. That's awesome. And you must feel ecstatic right now, getting that first victory. The early victories, I feel like that's important to get you going.
Yeah, now I feel warm. I mean, it's my first time in London, and it's so cold, but now I'm like warm and ready to play.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you. We have Music Master coming up too. Music Master, you want to jump in here? Awesome. So, Music Master, you also won your match. Yours felt like a little bit tougher, at least from back here. Why don't you talk about it?
First match, I had a good matchup. It was pretty clean, but the second one, okay, sorry. For the first match, I had a pretty good matchup, so it seemed smooth sailing from there. But in the second match, I decided to keep the same deck, which I guess on hindsight right now wasn't a really good decision because Yaya used a really nice, how do you say, counter deck.
Yes.
So it was a struggle to get through, and eventually he overwhelmed me with the P.E.K.K.A. Miner. Last match, I used a weird deck, hoping that hopefully Yaya wouldn't like run a counter deck or anything, but he actually still ran Golem Poison, which should have done well, but I think I decided once he dropped the Golem in the back, I would push with a Mega Knight and Flying Machine, and that push worked to take down his tower.
Yeah, and you know, at this level of competition, it comes down to one push, one mistake, one thing, right? It's only one thing that really decides the game. At least I feel like most times watching, right? So like on you guys, that's got to be a lot of pressure not to literally, you have to play the game perfect every single time, right? Or how do you feel like that?
For me, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. I mean, I obviously try not to like misdrop any cards that might like lose a tower or anything. But for me, I always try to, I guess, find a way to win. You want to find a, like, if something's not working, I will always like try to change something up so I can maybe change, like, get the tower. So like with I was gonna struggle to get that tower down just with chip damage.
Yep.
So I decided once he would put the Golem in the back, which he did, I would go in with a push on the opposite lane because he had low elixir, and it worked out.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip for people at home. Like, no matter what matchup you get, even if it's a counter deck, you're always looking for that, how do I switch it up? How do I win this? How do I make the best of what I have, right? And I think you did that really good by switching. Like you said, you played a very, you know, you said sort of random, but like off-meta deck for your last day. Why don't you tell us like how you decided to choose that?
Okay, so I'm gonna shout out to Belican. He gave me this deck, or he created a deck and I copied it. And with this deck, it's pretty much you chip out the tower as much as you can with the Furnace and the Spear Goblins, and hopefully you can defend well and overwhelm them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're really going for chip damage with this deck, and obviously you play a lot of off-meta cards, so it's not easy for your opponent to be like, oh, I play against this every day, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's really cool. And as like your experience so far, right? You're a pro player. You're at the highest level. You're representing, you know, your clans and your stuff as well. Like, how has this been? How has this whole tournament been for you so far? I mean, we're only one match in.
It's been good. I'm just trying to relax right now, even though I know there's, I guess, a lot on the line.
Yeah.
It's pretty refreshing. It's a totally new experience for me, and it's been pretty good.
Yeah, and the stages out there is crazy. I'm happy that you guys are playing. I don't have to play because that seems like a lot of pressure out there for you guys. Everyone seems really serious. So going back to the topics of your matches, right? You're going to be playing against Adrian next, right? So we just talked to him. He said he's already preparing to play against you. Without giving away too much, right? We don't want to hear anything. But what is your plan going into that?
Oh, I haven't actually decided much. I had a set of standard decks I was gonna play for today. I think I'm just gonna choose the right ones and hopefully have good matchups.
I think that's a good tip at home. Always stick with your comfort picks, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think we have Ash and PBSH back in the booth. Let's throw it on over to them.
Thank you, Brown Bag. Pleasure to be here. We have a minor technical issue, but you know what? There's so much action going on right now that I think we're just going to take a quick recap of the first two matches. They were absolutely incredible, and honestly, I'm not playing favorites here, but you can't ask for two better guys. Awesome. I mean, all these guys are awesome, but Music Master and Agent Piedra, such strong players and such great guys representing Team Queso and Sandstorm in the audience. A lot of those guys in the audience here today. Team Queso?
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there.
Tribe?
Let's see, Tribe. Who else we got? We got Team Nova over there. Whoa, that is quite the crowd.
It's a star-studded audience.
It really is. I mean, who else do we see here? Let's see. I mean,
the great Bren
Chong is here.
Let's see. Alliance.
We've got, I see Chief Pat sitting right in front of me. What's up, Chief Pat?
And you know what?
The Game Hunter's sitting right behind him. Wicked Gaming right next to him. Wow!
It's honestly a really cool event. So far, my favorite moment has been when Music Master played that incredibly off-meta deck. And that's what I'm kind of looking for here. I love when these players brings something, a total curveball here that no one's expecting. When you see a flying machine.
Oh my, and cannon cart.
Cannon cart, it just, I love those decks. And it was awesome that he won too, right? I mean,
and you know what? You are so right for the fact that for him, that is so random because I think people expect him to play either Three Musketeers or Siege. We saw a lot of him playing Expo, a lot of Mortar, and he didn't bring that. So it's kind of nice to see. And I think he threw him off a little bit. I think he threw Yao Yao off.
Absolutely. No, I think that one thing about these competitions is these players are familiar with the meta, right?
Yeah,
they know everything there is to know about every popular deck. It's really difficult to scout. I think that if you're a player who has a really comfortable kind of feeling with a variety of decks, and you're not afraid to change a few cards. That was the difference, in my opinion, with the Music Master victory in the first round over Yao Yao, the legend.
Yeah,
right?
I know. So that means then going into the semifinal rounds, we're going to have two winners of regions playing against each other. Music Master, who won the North America region for fall, and Adrian Piedra, who won the Latin America season for fall. So that's going to be quite a matchup.
Adrian Piedra is not only one of the best players, but certainly representing Mexico, which is a really, really popular Clash Royale region. You have players like Pompeo. You have the biggest Clash Royale content creator in the world is from Mexico. Did you know that?
That's wild. I knew that the Latin America community, especially for YouTube, is insane.
5 million subscribers and tracks. But seriously, just kind of recapping the event, obviously not a ton has happened so far, but in terms of the scale here, we have not just us in English right now, but we also have 9 other languages. Guys, let's give it up for the other languages in here, all the casters from all around the world.
All in those booths on the other side of the arena. That's all our foreign language casters. And you mentioned, like, we have a ton of YouTubers here. So we just saw GelTube, who is actually a YouTuber himself, and he's got 250,000 followers on YouTube in Korea. Yeah, so he's a popular. I think he's got a lot of fans here. He's probably got a ton of fans watching online, a lot of sad faces that he's out. But you know what? He's still in the finals. He's still going home with some money. So you got to love him for that, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of money, $150,000 is really insane. You know, I mean, we've had a lot of competitions. This is actually, I was counting a little humble brag here.
Okay,
sorry.
bring it on.
My 17th Supercell event, right?
Wow.
It's an honor. And this by far, not only the prize pool, but also the global representation, like we talked about. Not just the casters, but the players. These guys, over 100 countries. It's really insane. So I'm especially keeping my eye, like we kind of talked about in our preamble there, is I really want to see how the East clashes with the West.
I know. This is going to be a wild matchup today. And I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, but I mean, the arena here on the floor, you can see it's got life size of the goblins or whatever it is crossing the bridge as the gameplay is going on. So
I was tweeting out a picture of me. We were playing real life Clash Royale yesterday. I was a log. I was rolling onto you and Woody. And anyway, you know who I really do want to talk to right now? I want to have a word with my friend Chief Pat. Chief.
Ooh. Okay, actually, hey, they just said they are ready. The games are set
Pat will wait about 10 minutes.
Check on Chief
We
Pat.
finally have our issue resolved. Let's go ahead and head back to the commentators for the next match.
Chief Pat's got his own channel. We can talk to him later.
Yeah, go YouTube somewhere else. But now, check it out. So this match is going to be incredible because we have Colton versus Wins. And get this, Wins, one of the most defensive players in the field today. Colton, probably the most aggressive, the most offensive player. So we've got the immovable object against the unstoppable force. But the key ban of poison we talked about earlier is going to come into this a lot because 2 out of the 3 decks that Wins play the most would normally use poison. He plays minor poison and graveyard with a poison. So without poison at his disposal, it's banned for the whole match. What will he be playing?
We'll just have to see. You know, he said he was a 7 out of 10 in terms of the versatility of decks that he's comfortable with. He's relatively creative, but I think that he's more likely to lean back to an established archetype and make a few changes to it. He's going to start off with a log rolling down the left lane. Didn't hit the tower, though. A little bit of wasted damage he could have gotten there, but not a big loss overall.
Win says that the player to beat, the player he's keeping his eye on, is Music Master. Rocket's coming down right away. Now that is a huge early lead for Colton. Why? 5 elixir for the Executioner, 6 elixir for the Rocket. Rocket kills Executioner, and you get 493 damage on the tower for only 1 elixir. What a deal.
As Willy Wonka would say to Wins, you get nothing.
I said good day, sir. But now Pekka is saying, well, hold on now. She's coming across the river. Oh, no. Oh, no. The Tesla Tower did not pull it over, so the Knight has to come out to drag it a little further. Log's going to come down, pulling it, and he uses Tornado to activate the King Tower.
The Winds.
Oh, no.
Pulling strong for Colton, but not strong enough. A ton of damage at the left side as Colton reeling from a big hit. Left side tower does hold on, but the King has gone down to 591. That's the dangerous thing about not having access to Poison. It's one of the best counters to Graveyard in the game, and even though Poison also works well with Graveyard, it's also one of the counters to that card.
I'm very impressed with Wins' deck so far. Very expensive from what I can tell. Lots of heavy cost cards, a lot of support, and it looks like he's going to try to defend with Pekka, the big metallic defending tank that she is, and then throw a Graveyard on the counterattack. Colton's got to figure out a way to use this minor rocket deck to keep the pressure on and not let Win set up anything too big to counterattack with.
He doesn't really need to set up anything that big, though. He's already got that left side down to 495. But pushing with a Pekka Electro Wizard anyways, he's looking awfully deadly. Now, Tesla Tower does do double damage to Pekkas in Clash of Clans, but not here. It's just normal damage, but nonetheless, it's able to do quite a bit to that slow-going Pekka, and that left side Electro Wizard's about to zap the tower down. Finishes it off, and Wins has pulled ahead 1-0 over Colton in the first game.
Log's coming through with the Miner, but the Ice Golem is standing between the tower and the Miner, preventing it from doing too much damage as Log knocks Miner yet farther away. Wins is looking really good right now. He has 1684 damage to play with. Colton is switching, it looks like, to a Rocket Cycle plan. He's going to try to cast 2 more rockets in the next 30 seconds. His deck does have a lot of low-cost cards, but it's going to be a challenge to try to get that the 2 more rockets in there in such a short period of time.
I would be very surprised if you were able to pull this off, but I've seen bigger comebacks before. Miner gets a nice lock on there, but pulled away by the Tornado. That's an awful result for Colton as he needed more damage at the left side from that push. Rocket does land for another 493, but he's 570 short, and with a huge attack at the right side, Colton's forced to defend and has no more chance to apply any more pressure to Win's left side tower. Wins! The player from China on Team Nova has defeated Colton in the first battle of this matchup. The best of 3 means that the Team Queso players got a chance to turn it around, but the reverse sweep is a high standard to set.
Yeah, that was a very interesting deck out of Colton. High pressure. He actually had a lot of tools to fight Graveyard with, but that first one seemed to catch him a lot off guard. He didn't have Ice Wizard in Cycle. Ice Wizard's great at cleaning out skeletons. He had to use the Tornado to activate the King Tower, which is actually really good against Graveyard. Your King Tower, if you ever lose one of your 2 towers, or if the King Tower takes damage, it activates and becomes an additional defensive tower. Once it was activated, you now have 2 towers shooting down skeletons, which is really good for future graveyards, but the remaining skeletons from that first graveyard brought the tower so low that he didn't have enough health to play with on future attacks. And it just took maybe 1 Electro Wizard attack just shortly after that to finish off the tower, and then the pressure is entirely on the Miner player. You have to just go in, and this Pekka Graveyard deck is all defensive cards. So once that first tower went down, Wins just kicks his feet up and says, come at me, and not much you can do at that point.
There were 2 things that went wrong there for Colton. First, throwing that rocket got a ton of damage off the left side tower, but it did leave him vulnerable to counterattack. He'd already spent the Mega Minion that just kind of walked into an Electro Wizard on Win's side, so he was low on Elixir to begin with. The second problem was that he was backwards on his spell deployment. Probably not even his fault. I don't think that he had Tornado in his hand when he really wanted it, so he cycled through the log. One of the key cards in countering the Graveyard takes out any skeletons in its path, but you need to be able to play that a little bit later to try to wipe out the remainder of the skeletons after you play the Tornado. So the fact that he had Tornado in his hand first kind of left him like backwards in the way that he wanted to play. He put the horse before the cart, so to speak, because he got the defense set up from the King, but there was no more big attack that was coming from Wins. He'd already torn about 2,000 damage off that left side tower.
And that's why deck choices make so much of an impact in this game. I genuinely think that when Poison was banned, Colton did not expect to see Graveyard. So when it comes out, you're just like, oh no, like I was ready for so many tanks, I was ready for Hog Rider, I was ready for anything, probably except the Graveyard. But now he's got a feel of how Wins is going to play. China's top-seeded player here today, and he just needs 1 more win, Wins does, to move on to the next round. Colton has to win the next 2 to take this match.
Wins loves to travel, and he certainly is going places. He's already made it here to London, and he is not looking to be done in the round of 16.
Let's go.
1 battle away from moving on to the quarterfinals.
His girlfriend is rooting him on. Ooh, Tornado's pulling the Ice Spirit away.
Double Tornado.
I really
it's
like
getting
that.
pretty windy in the arena after all, Ramham.
And it looks like Wins is playing Spellbait. Now, we saw this deck earlier out of Adrian Piedra. Goblin, Gang, Goblin, Barrel, and Princess are the 3 cards to keep your eye on. Colton does have a Log and Miner. He's going to have to use Miner on the Princess, Log on the Barrel or Goblin Gang in order to keep all of these swarmy, low-cost cards in check.
Colton's got a nice split early game here. He's been able to deal damage to both the left and right side tower. Hasn't taken a whole lot of damage from Wins. And I think that Colton actually has a little bit of a deck advantage in this setup. The fact that he's running Log here means that he's able to get at least 1 good spell play in a 2-for-3 exchange against either the Goblin Barrel, the Goblin Gang, or the Princess. He's also playing Tesla, though. An interesting player, very defensive. Winds up that Wins is able to counter it pretty well. He's just going to ignore the Tesla and throw a rocket straight for Colton's right side tower.
So Colton is playing the exact same deck as last time, even though he lost with it, which is a pretty bold choice that we don't see a lot of. Now, both of these players, I think, are playing pretty defensive decks, and they might just opt to throw cards at each other's tower. The King Tower's activated again. We mentioned that last game, and now you know what we're talking about. Watch that King Tower as it will attack additional times. Log comes out of hand. You'd expect Goblin Barrel to come out now, but he just played Goblin Barrel. He doesn't have it at his disposal. So I really like how Colton, his cycle is set up right now. I feel like he has the advantage right now as we go into double elixir time.
Dangerous thing for the Goblin Barrel, though, is that it doesn't need a whole lot of time to deal a lot of damage. The King Tower can get some value when activated, but it takes a few shots to take those guys down, requiring another Tornado once again to pull them back and away. Wins has pulled ahead now in the damage race overall.
Colton's going to use the Log on the tower for damage. It's a little risky, though, because, of course, Win's entire deck wants you to play your Log, and if you're not hitting any troops, that's going to give you a little bit of an opening. Looks like he might be setting up for a play there. Goblin Barrel's coming in, and Princess at the river. Tornado's going to pull the Goblins away from the tower, minimizing the amount of damage they can do. We've got 714 against 842.
Got a little bit of chip damage. It looks like Colton will be well set up to go for the 2-crown gain here, but he needs to make it there into double... sudden death first. He's got to knock that left side tower down because Wins is almost certain to be able to get to another rocket. To finish on the right side. He gets it with a Princess. Colton needs 125 damage to stay in the game.
Log's not enough. Log only does 96, so he's got to get a little more damage in there. Time's going to run. Ice Wizard!
It's not it! Colton is still in it!
We are going into overtime, and just like that, the tables have turned in Colton's favor. While he was down with just 3 seconds to go, now look at the damage on the towers. He's got a significant lead, a rocket's worth of damage lead on his opponent. If he can just finish it off, 2 rockets and a Log, I believe is enough to do it. It's going to be very close.
Nice catch by Colton as well. Mega Minion gets that Princess down. Unfortunately for Colton, this Tesla just is not able to block the shots from the Princess. It goes underground whenever it's not in use, and Colton's looking very aggressive here. Plays a rocket on top of the Miner. 547 means he's 1 spell cycle away from winning the second game.
Just needs Log rocket and Wins, knows it, so he's going in aggressive with the Knight and Goblin Gang in the middle. Tornado's going to hold it all, and I think he has survived that aggro push. Goblin Barrel's coming in. There's no Log in hand. He's using the Mega Minion plus the 2 towers to clean out the Goblins surrounding the tower. And I believe Colton, I don't know, the pressure's being kept up by Wins. He's not giving him a break. It costs 8 elixir to win the game, and he cannot get that 8 elixir out just yet. He's got 8. Can he do it now?
Send in the heavy firepower. Rocket cannot be stopped. Miner gets the killing blow as Colton Wall 83 pulls off the turnaround. A 2-1 victory over Wins, and this best-of-3 match is going to a tiebreaker, Rummy.
Game 3, Colton. Love that focus at the end of the game there. I think a lot of players would have just crumbled, maybe gone on tilt in that moment thinking, oh, 24 damage. I can't believe I'm going home on 24 damage. Colton says, no. Ice Wizard at the river simply walks up, freezes the tower for a little icicle worth of damage, and it does enough to take it down, pushing it into overtime. And as you mentioned, he spent much of the 3 minutes of regulation, slowly chipping down that right side tower. So once the rocket took out the left side tower, suddenly he's got about 1,000 damage lead, and that's what let him just grind it out on defense, keep casting his rockets, and take home the game.
That one little icicle, that tiny snowflake. You know, that left side Princess said that the Ice Bucket Challenge, she thought it'd be fun. Turns out that was the last little bit that tore her down and gave Colton a great leg up. You know, I think that the disadvantage for Wins there was the fact that he was willing to take so much damage out the right side. He really kind of went all in earlier on offense by applying so much pressure to Colton's right side. He was relying on keeping that left side tower up, and he was within literally milliseconds. It was, I think that 1 was flashed on the screen as the Ice Wizard got his final what does he say? You know?
Yeah.
And so that was
And
so
you can see the reaction, right? Because we have the cameras on the players. He knows that the game was on and they had turned around in that moment. Now, going into game 3, Colton played the same deck twice in the first 2 games. I think he might switch it up now because I don't know if you want to play the exact same deck 3 times in a row because your opponent can start to bring counter decks to it. Meanwhile,
but then on the other hand, it's the wine in front of you or the wine in front of me. He could just go the same deck again, expecting his opponent to not think that he's going to be playing the same thing.
Wins played Pekka Graveyard in game 1, and in battle number 2, he brought out Spell Bait. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. We've got the top-seeded player from China against a North American USA player who qualified through an international invitational. 16 players from live tournaments around the world, hailing from Latin America, Europe, and North America. He fought through them all in a format very similar to what we're playing today to reach this. His mom's in the audience rooting him on, and we'll see what happens. Okay, we got Graveyard coming in for Colton here. Pekka's going down the right lane, going to fight that knight favorably, but let's see how this Graveyard on the left goes. It looks like it's not going to do too much damage overall.
Yeah, pretty aggressive play there from Colton. Could have gotten some value if he had been able to lock, but that Electro Wizard able to shoot at 2 different skeletons at once. Got some great work on defense there. Looks like the Pekka will be able to chop through these archers. No more attack left from Colton, but he still has a Tesla set up on defense. Down about 3 elixir relative to wins, though. What's this attack going to be? It's another Graveyard. A double Graveyard game, Rumham.
Wow, and this time Colton has the solution. Minions are down there, 3-cost minions. Get in and start cleaning out skeletons. Ice Golem comes right after the Fireball lands and also prevents the damage. Both of these players are huge Graveyard players, so not only do they know how to operate it on offense, they're super familiar with how to defend against Graveyards. This is going to come down to the better mechanical player, and I'm really excited to see who that's going to be.
2 mini tanks marching across the left bridge, getting chopped apart by an Executioner, but a little bit of chip damage out the left lane as the Graveyard locked on early, got Wynn's tower down to 1931, but look out, this counterattack could be deadly. Is Wynn's going to commit to it? Not this time.
So right now, we have Wynn's. We know that he's got Fireball and Log to back up that Graveyard. There are 2 cards in Colton's deck we haven't seen.
We haven't seen
one
or
both of them. Yeah, I
Graveyard.
need to be a spell because if you cast Graveyard and your opponent defends it, and you have no way to remove those troops from the board, your Graveyard's not going to be very effective. We might be seeing another one here right now, though. Going into tank.
Would be a very aggressive move by Colton. Looks like he's going to play a little bit more carefully here. Knocks the Electro Wizard into the opposite lane. A pretty crucial exchange here. Would have been super deadly if Pekka and Electro Wizard were marching in. But look out, because there's a huge push at the left side bridge. Wynn's relies on these massive attacks to support the Graveyard push out back. And with archers to defend against the Pekka, it's looking pretty dangerous for Colton here. Can he roll in something to deal with these skeletons?
The Tesla Tower shooting skeletons, and it's getting low. It's down to just 204. Colton's looking frustrated on stage. The Log's going to come through, dropping it down to 108. A Fireball will finish that off in the next 25 seconds, but Graveyard is one of the most all-in cards in the game. If this Graveyard push can be effective, he can take down Wynn's tower and move through.
Who's moving on? The answer is blown in the winds. Strong performance up the left side on defense means he hangs on, and with the final Fireball, Colton's left side tower goes down. Wynn's counts the remaining time as he prepares to move on to the quarters. The player from Team Nova, Chinese representative, has knocked out Colton Wall 83, USA, Team Queso.
Wow, and China's first representative in today's tournament is advancing on to the top 8, playing Pekka Graveyard and Spellbait decks. I mean, we expected Spellbait. I did not expect that very heavy Pekka Graveyard deck, and it seemed to really confound Colton, on the day. He had a really hard time dealing with the counter-attacking Pekkas while also dealing with the Electro Wizards and Executioners that are posted up behind the Pekka.
It's a relatively unique Graveyard deck that I haven't seen a whole lot before. Typically, you rely more upon the splash damage of things like Bowler or Baby Dragon or Executioner right at the bridge with, a relatively smaller tank. The fact that he went super heavy with the Pekka, that's a great new deck archetype that I think that we're going to see reproduced a lot more as the days and weeks go on. And I love watching these matches because these guys know how much is on the line. Going from the round of 16 up into the quarterfinals is a jump from $7,500 to $15,000. So much at stake. Obviously, you would want to bring a great deck to it.
We just saw one of the best Graveyard players in the world, so let's take a closer look at that last replay to get an impression of how this player who traveled all the way from China was able to pull this off. And here we go. We have Pekka coming down the lane. And when Graveyard, let's see, now the Pekka's getting closer, closer, closer. Now he uses the Knight to drop it back, but now Knight is not standing between the skeletons. He's got to use that log to clean him out, but you mentioned it was a little early. Tornado comes down and pulls about a half dozen skeletons, but look at the remainders. They're all built up, and even though you have 2 towers cleaning them out, it's just a matter of time until it goes down. Look at the Elixir at this point. Huge lead for Wins, and he was able to help him take game 1.
But remember when Colton was able to barely bring it into sudden death, that right side tower was going down, and he knew that time was running out. With 6:18 left on the left side tower, the rocket was not enough to finish that thing off, and a burly Knight in between him and victory meant that he had to get another hit off. Log rolls in, but that was not enough. It was the Ice Wizard MVP of the game. Log killed those goblins just in time and knocked the Ice Spirit out of the way for that final icicle to take it down.
And this was the final damage that delivered the game to Wins. Look how little damage there really was on either tower at this point. It was very tough, but this was such a hard thing to deal with. The minions are getting dropped on top of the Executioner, and that's not what you want to be putting there. It allowed the Executioner to clean them up very quickly, moving the Knight in front of the tower, and then the Executioner started axing through the Knight and the tower. That's what put the damage so low into Fireball range and guaranteed that Wins was able to move on against Colton. You can see player reactions on screen. That's got to be frustrating. Of course, the crowd, the noise is so hard to deal with. Only one player can move on. No one wants to get eliminated in the first round, but of course it's going to happen to half of the players here today. Wins from China, moving on. Colton W83, an incredible run so far in 2017, comes to an end here in the Copper Box Arena in London.
Hey, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You are a World Finals qualifier. So much money on the line and so much pressure. It came down to a
The heal spell has finally arrived to Clash Royale. Troops everywhere are raving. The heal spell lets me take a bunch more arrows to the face. The king never saw it coming. I give it 0 stars out of 5 for beating me. This is a card you don't want to miss out on.
I am a bright green fighting machine. I wear suspenders with no shirt and have a knife. Oh yeah.
I am basically the same as that, but can attack from really far away. Oh yeah. By throwing spears, And now we're coming together, joining our knives and our pointy sticks. Pointy sticks. 3 in the front, 3 in the back. We're a goblin gang of 6. Goblin gang of 6.
Supercell's official Electro Wizard safety checklist. Do not summon Electro Wizard near a dry Christmas tree. Do not put a fork in Electro Wizard's ear. Do not let Electro Wizard within 100 feet of the public pool. always insist on Electro Wizards that have been approved by Supercell.
Bullseye. Haha. Showtime! Fireball. Fireball. Fireball.
Oh!
Haha. Let's go. Let's go. Magic Fireball. Oh! Let's go. Gotcha. Showtime! Gotcha. Yay.
Showtime!